Do you think that Michigan was right to relieve Sean Magee of his duties as the general manager of all things Michigan football? And how do you feel about, say, Jim Nagy as the next general manager for the Michigan Wolverines? What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button, like this video, answer the question in the comments below. How do you feel about Sean Magee being relieved of his duties as the general manager for Michigan football? There are a couple of ways to look at this, but I think the one that makes the most sense is, well, he was associated with Sharon Moore and Jim Harbaugh, not once but twice, and maybe that only goes so far. That said, it felt like if you were going to make this sort of move, you might make it earlier than 2 months after you've hired head coach Kyle Whittingham. And the only guy that seems to have a real front-facing role that could be left from that era is Ward Manuel, who made the hire. Now, mixed feelings on Ward Manuel from Michigan folks that I talked to. He's also the guy that hired John Beilein, right? But at the top of the list, won a national championship. And that's going to be at the top of his resume no matter what he does. And I think that's going to ultimately give him an A as athletic director at Michigan. Hired Sharon Moore, sure. Hired Jim Harbaugh. Also made Jim Harbaugh eat an incentive-laced contract that I think is beneath him going into 2021. And Harbaugh outperformed that contract and then some and got what he wanted after the fact. And that might have led to the position that Michigan is in now, from Connor Stallions to Sharon Moore, and ultimately not having the kind of character that is representative of what you want from a Michigan man, let alone the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, let alone the first black head coach in the Michigan Wolverines, a man who was hired during Black History Month. Doesn't matter to you, but it matters to me. It matters a whole hell of a lot to me, and I don't need it to matter to you. And I was as hurt in December when this news came down as I am now. Sucks. I hate it. And there are a lot of people that watch this show that are Michigan fans that don't feel some kind of way about me, but I didn't want to see that happen. Yeah, that still sucks. That still sucks. And I'm livid about it because there are a lot of ways to be fired as a head coach. Lose football games, for God's sake. But don't do that. So you hire Kyle Whittingham, right? You hire Kyle Whittingham. Kyle Whittingham, who by everybody's metric was a home run hire. He passed the internal test, Michigan fans, fanatics, and nationally. Like, we all laud the hire. It's great. You hired a winner, a guy with 20 years head coaching experience who could steady the ship, and his coordinator hires are really outstanding. Jason Beck, who you know about doing great things in New Mexico with Devin Dampier, was good with Devin Dampier at Utah. Jay Hill coming from BYU to coach the defense. The defense at BYU had been outstanding. I think the most underrated part of what they've done the last 2 years, as much as the quarterbacks get the headlines, that defense was outstanding, and anybody that played in the Big 12 knew it. Now you get to a place where we expected some recruiting staff changes. Sam Webb been all over those, the Michigan Insider, but when Pete Nakos broke the news earlier today that Sean Magee was out, I honestly had my first question was, okay, so why now, among other things? And if now, well, surely you got somebody you want to go get, because firing your general manager in February when there's nothing going on is either a very shrewd bit of business, because that's a guy that had all the relationships with the high school players and their parents / agents. Same thing with the transfer portal, help you navigate all those things. Or you found out some things that you can know that are make him sticking in the position untenable. Right now, I don't know, right? We just know that it has happened. So what are you going to do now? You have to hire a general manager who has nothing to do with Jim Harbaugh, with the Harbaugh era, which I don't think is that hard, but it is a position that is frankly really new. So you want to hire someone that's been doing it basically for the last 3, 4, 5 years, or has a background that you can trust. And that's why Jim Nagy, for me, jumps to the front of the line. Like, how are you going to follow the guy that is most responsible for bringing together the group of people that made the investment to flip Bryce Underwood from LSU to Michigan. I do mean from big money donors to Tom Brady, right? Jim Nagy's a Michigan man. There it is, and as the former senior executive director of the Senior Bowl, nobody has seen more NFL talent than that guy, period. Full stop. It's one of the reasons that I thought it was an outstanding grand slam hire by Joe Castiglione and Brent Venables to go get him to Oklahoma, because that's a guy that can walk into anybody's NFL front office and get a meeting. And it is a man who's probably seen more FBS talent today, more NFL talent today than any other man in the country. Remember, part of his job was to fly around the country and to take in the best football programs in the country and their players, and then select them to offer up for NFL coaches to coach during the Senior Bowl week and watch them get drafted, right? It's also a guy that made it cool for you to wear both schools that you might have played football at on your helmet, whether like Jalen Hurts with Alabama and Oklahoma. It's very cool, right? Now it's become just part of what we do because the nature of the transfer portal and the nature of grad transferring. But again, I don't think it's that big a stretch. I really don't. And knowing that Oklahoma is coming to Michigan only helps you on this, right? You'll have real intel of what it is they do and how they do it. Now that I think about it, Oklahoma's smart. Maybe you got a clause in there, about taking a job in Michigan. Maybe not. But there's absolutely going to be a question asked if Jim Nagy wants to take that job. And I would be shocked to find out he doesn't listen. Everybody should listen. You should always listen to someone's pitch or offer. Doesn't mean you got to take it. And you can't take anything that wasn't offered, frankly. But now we're at a place where if Nagy wanted to go home and try to help Kyle Whittingham rebuild Michigan into a juggernaut that is free of the stealing scandal, that is free of Matt Weiss and his criminal behavior, that is free of Sharon Moore and his inappropriate behavior, this is the time to do it. Sincerely, this is the time to do it. So if you can go get it done, Michigan, do it. Now, I say that as an Oklahoma guy, but that's me putting my national commentator hat on and going, yeah, this one makes a lot of sense.